You guys have never talked about this, right?
No.
Mm-mm. And he took off his clothes and told me, "Are you going to take off your clothes now?" And I said no. And I was underage. So if he would not stop there with me, what makes... Like, I'm not going to believe that he didn't go all the way with her. I was 16. He turns 37 this year.
So when you were 16, he had to have been...
He was 30.
So you were 16 and he was 30.
16, yeah.
And then you were 7... Were you 17 when it started?
Yeah.
17
Well,
and...
Yeah. Well, it's crazy how it's like they're all the same age. He goes for all the same age.
If he gets them, like, right out of the order,
And
then
he knows
they'll
that.
do whatever because we don't know.
We don't know what's
We don't
normal.
know how
We
to
don't
say
know what's
yeah,
not.
exactly.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Amanda Ray, and when I was 17, almost 18 years old, I left a polygamous cult that I was born in. This is my cousin Michelle, came from the same polygamous cult. My cousin Priscilla, same polygamous cult. We're all related. We're all from the order. But if you're interested in hearing any of their stories, I will link their information in the description box down below. Today's going to be a little bit of a different video because we're talking about someone that you guys may have heard of before. He was actually on Escaping Polygamy around the time that Priscilla was on Escaping Polygamy. Right. He's painted out to be this kind of hero helping girls leave the order. You may have also seen him on American Greed, and he is married to one of our cousins who also left the order. And what you may not know about this guy is he's also a child predator.
What's going on?
Hey, you know, Priscilla, she wants to leave, and we're trying to talk about the legal matter because she's 17.
Because Mary ran away, right?
She wasn't 18.
Right, okay, so in Las Vegas, that makes sense. So speed and efficiency, that was really, really important. So as soon as she steps out the door, run as fast as you can into the car and leave. There's no holdup, nothing else. Straight into Las Vegas.
He victimized us.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So we're going to be diving into the life of Bryan Nelson. And he is a public figure, so we can talk about him publicly. And if he wants to go and talk about how he's a hero and be on American Greed and wants to take stories and put them out there, then we get to tell the true stories of the underage women that he took advantage of. The whole point of this video is to not victim shame or victim blame. We're going to talk about the stories as it is.
Victims shouldn't be kept quiet.
Yeah.
To protect him.
And the whole point of this video is to expose Bryan for what he really is in hopes that there's no more victims. And if we keep quiet, guess what happened? Some people did keep quiet, and guess what happened? More victims came out. There was more victims that were victimized. I'm using the victim word a lot. But basically, this whole point of this video is to hope that by speaking up, no one will trust him again. And no one will fall under his clutches again. So this is all of our story, I guess.
We're all involved.
Yeah, we're all involved with this, and so we're going to try to piece everything together. You guys will be seeing in the future of this video them talking about it together for the first time. Michelle and Priscilla had very similar experiences with this Bryan Nelson.
So mine was after. So he told me about her, but she had not known because out of respect, I tried to keep quiet because I didn't want our other cousin to look like a fool.
Yeah.
So,
for the wife, not.
Yeah, but at this point, she's made her decision. I need to protect myself and future possible victims.
So let's preface, Bryan was never part of the order, and he was, do we know how much older he is than the wife that he married?
July 21st, 1986.
86,
And she's
90,
95, right?
I think 95.
Yeah, so 9 years.
So it's
So
9
if she
years.
was 17, he would be
26.
20. Oh, okay, right. Okay. So let's start off with the beginning. Bryan was never part of the order. He grew up in a pretty normal family, LDS, right?
Went to jail.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
A few times.
he was in a gang.
Yeah, but we didn't know this. When
Yeah.
we were coming out of the order, we had no idea that Bryan had any red flags. Also, we didn't catch the red flags because we came from a cult where red flags were beautiful, right?
We were used
Attention
to
was beautiful.
narcissists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were surrounded by narcissists in the order, and so when we saw Bryan, a fellow narcissist, it was familiar. Bryan meets Mary at the Slick campus, and he starts to pursue her, and she is a minor. She's 17 at this time. Bryan pursues her and gets her to leave the order while she was 17, right? They get married on her 18th birthday.
Their ceremony on her 18th birthday, it was on American Greed.
Yeah.
So you can pull that from it.
Oh, well. I became Mary's friend. I met her I knew her in the order, obviously, but I saw her after she had left at Hollister, and we became really good friends, and that's how I got into the mix of everything. We became really close, and when my little sister Rachel left, they offered up the home. But I really thought it was weird, and I remember telling Rachel this, it was weird how much Bryan wanted to be involved in Rachel's escape. And I remember him being like, oh, I'm gonna go with you guys, and me being like, why? Why is this guy so involved? But okay, he's trying to help.
The more help, the better. The more
Right.
support, the better.
I didn't see any red flags. I was like, okay, he wants to help. So we get Rachel moved in there, and then we're hearing that Priscilla wants to leave. And Bryan starts to get very protective and almost like he wants to be the one that takes you to Vegas.
Yeah.
You see a scene of him going in the basement trying to give advice on Escaping Polygamy about how to help Priscilla leave. And this is, again, another time where I was like, why is he down here? I thought the producers were telling him to come down there.
Did they not?
I think he told us that. But I think he just was pushing his way in because he liked the limelight. And the sad thing,
Look at him now.
yeah, the sad thing is how this whole story unravels. Like, we had no idea the type of person that he was. And honestly, I think we all can agree he's almost worse than a lot of older men.
That's
Yes.
my opinion, yes.
Yes. Because like when you're in the order, then you know that this is who they are and that's how they're gonna be. And for him, he's very like does everything behind your back, and when you find out, then he like gaslights you into believing that you're wrong. Like
He made
It's
me think
just-
I was crazy.
He
Right.
gaslights a lot more than the order. Like, the order does it too,
exactly, but
but it's not the same level because they're like, yes, we're living polygamy. Yes, you're gonna marry your
Yeah.
cousin, but he's like,
they're more
Gaslighting.
like, oh, because the Lord said so, because the Lord said so, and that's like the only excuse. But he would come up with like elaborate like
well, he's like, well, because you want this,
Right.
You need this.
Right.
That's what he did to me.
you need me in your
I
life.
will say though, he had this, I don't know the word for it, but he had this way of like, he would talk highly about himself and how good he was at manipulating. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He would brag
told me
about
that.
it. And I remember thinking, like, why is that something you're bragging about? And also, that's when I started to be like, is he manipulating me? There were moments in time where I thought it was kind of weird, where little things happened here and there, but I was like, maybe this is normal because I just left the cult. I don't know how outsiders are. And he used that against me, too. He would say, because there was one moment where I saw him tickle your neck. This scarred in my brain. I was driving my car and I saw him tickle your neck from behind the seat. And I remember exactly what
And
you're
it's
talking
like,
about.
that grosses me out.
But I was
Right.
like,
I don't even remember that.
I remember this because he made me cry. Okay,
Okay.
so this is my trauma. It's not even as bad, but I'm over here like driving and I see and I'm like, everybody loves you, Priscilla, because we were talking about how everyone wants to help you.
Yeah.
And then he tickles her neck from behind the seat and he's like, yeah, Priscilla, everybody loves you. And I think he didn't think I saw, but that was the first time I was like, something is weird here. So I told his wife. And I was like, have you noticed anything going on? And she tells him, and he comes up the stairs to me being like, you should have come to me first. How dare you go to my wife about that? And I was like, Bryan, your wife is my friend. I only know you because I'm her friend. But he scolded me so hard and said that never happened, that I made it up in my head, to the point where I started crying thinking I was crazy. And that's the type of manipulation that he was. And this is the thing, that wouldn't work on someone who wasn't brainwashed coming out of a cult. So the reason why he had no reason to be gassing himself up.
He found his stomping grounds.
Yeah.
He probably got caught up so many times because he said that he would always cheat on every single partner that he had. But I think as soon as he experienced, because there was one girl before that came out for a little bit and things happened with them and then she went back, but she never told anybody. So he's like, this is perfect. Like, these girls are so
They're
scared
walking
of
up
the
to my
people-
door.
Right, and they're so scared of people, they don't want to get in trouble themselves, so they're not going to tell on me.
So one of Paul's daughters actually was trusting Bryan, and we found out that she was actually one of his victims. She ended up being in the line of their wedding, and then she went back to the order and got married. She's a polygamist now.
And his wife told me, our cousin told me, nothing ever happened between them, but I saw pictures. Okay, so those pictures was like, so she's playing along with the gaslighting too.
Right.
And we will be getting into a lot of screenshots because that we want to make sure there's no way he can gaslight his way out of this. We don't know how many victims Bryan has, but we do know there was a victim before Priscilla, and it was one of Paul's daughters who left and was in Bryan's line in his wedding, and then went back to the order and got married and is a polygamist now. I became friends with Mary. I was also at that wedding. Maybe I'll show pictures. I was in the line as well. But I was married. But I will say, he always talked about he wanted his place to be a place for people to come out of the cult. And so he made it open for Rachel, right? He made it open for Melanie. If you guys have seen Melanie on Escaping Polygamy, she was living there too at the same time as Rachel.
They're females.
There was a time where there was a young boy in David's family. So that was even his wife's brother. And he came over, and I was excited. I was like, Bryan, do you want to meet this person from the order and we can help him leave? But first, he was excited because he didn't know it was a boy. At first, he did want to meet them. And then when I said who it was, he was like, oh, didn't care to meet him. And he is Mary's sibling. And that was the second I started to be like putting the pieces together. Like, okay, so he only wants girls here. Doesn't care that this is a young little boy who's also siblings with his own wife. There's some motives behind this. At this time point, when Priscilla gets into the picture, we have Melanie living there and Rachel. And then Priscilla was talking to Bryan. Do you want to explain? I still don't understand how Bryan got involved with your life.
So it was, I think, honestly, the reason he got involved at all was because he had heard about it through you guys that I wanted to leave, and because my parents had already like sent me to a rehab for underage kids when I left the first time, so they knew that they had to put me somewhere where they couldn't find me. And because Vegas's runaway laws were different, then I had to go there, and he had already helped Mary go to Vegas, so he just kind of got in with the producers of Escaping Polygamy. I think he just involved himself. So I met him when I met up with one of the producers. We all had like lunch together, and he got my number and everything and was just messaging me, calling me constantly before I even left.
Because I do have a faint memory of meeting up with you while you were still in the order, and Bryan was in the car. And I was like, why does it seem like Bryan is trying to be more involved than me? And I'm her cousin.
Yeah. And he even, like, my cousin was, he was going to come on the bus with me to Vegas, and Bryan was calling me. Like, I was literally at an order dance, and he was calling me. He's like, you need to tell them that I need to go with you. Like, I need to be with you. I need to protect you and make sure. And I, like, was so confused. He needed the fame, and he needed the screen time, and he needed to get closer to me. And what better way to do that than to sit on a bus
Where
for,
both
like,
of you are trapped.
8 freaking hours. Nobody was going to be filming during that. Like, nothing. We were just going to be there by. And I think that that's what he was planning on.
He gaslit Eric so much that Eric literally, because he told him, he was like, you are all in it for the money, Eric. Like, that's all you care about. And he made him feel so guilty that he even offered Bryan his check.
Right.
And then the next time he filmed, he refused to take money because that's how much Bryan gaslit him into thinking that he's all about the money. When in reality, Bryan just wanted to be alone with you.
Right.
But it's weird because in hindsight, I'm like, how come no one caught on? But I just remember thinking, like, why is he acting like this?
I know.
But I didn't catch on until, like, after everything unraveled. And he was really good at, manipulating people who have been manipulated our whole lives.
Right. It was very easy to manipulate us at the time. And
Because we were also so vulnerable. Like, we wanted anybody to care. We were literally like, please, somebody care about me.
Right. Because
And then he's like, I care about you, and I'm the only one who can help save you, and you need me.
you guys have never talked about this, right?
No.
Who wants to go first?
You. Well, he did it to you first.
Yeah, well, okay, I feel like everybody already knows, like, everybody already heard everything because it was so public.
He definitely asked me, like, what was the rumors about me and Priscilla. But, like, right from the get-go with me, he was like, because I contacted him. I didn't know it was him. But I said, I want to leave. Can you help me get in touch with Escaping Polygamy? And then after so many messages, he's like, literally within the first week, he's like, you don't want to just talk to me? You're only just venting to me? You're using me? I don't even know who you are. Like, when he was looking for validation, I'm like, I'm literally just venting to you because the word was, I will go crazy if I keep this in.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take the risk of me getting beat for this because I will go crazy keeping it in.
Yeah.
And he said, so not to go crazy, not to talk to me. And this is like literally, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know his age. I didn't even know he was a man. That's how it started.
So how did you guys, like, keep in contact afterwards? Like, because I know with us, then I was staying at that house with a bunch of other older girls.
Well, he told me, like, I will buy you a phone. Like, I will make sure you can contact me. And then he would tell me, like, I'm so alone. Like, I was supporting him. I was trying to be like, you're fine. And I made jokes the first week, again. He's like, oh, if my day's been hard. And I'm like, well, it can't be that hard because you're not in the order.
Right.
And he was like, oh, I guess that's true. But he was trying to, like, play the victim right from the beginning. You're, like, getting flashbacks. You're like, stop!
I'm like, wow. No, because that's the thing, too. When he would talk to me, he'd be like, yeah, so me and my wife only got married because she wanted her family to think that she was in this happy relationship. That's the only reason why we're having a kid, but we're not actually together. And he was like, she just wants her siblings to see that it's possible to be happy on the outside. And that's
so they're going to put on the fake
yeah,
breath.
right. That's why we're married, but we're not actually together. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. That's crazy.
Well, and he would say things like, there's this person that I love, and I'm, like, so in love with her, but she would never, like, she doesn't see her worth. And I, like, obviously knew he was trying to hint at things because he had tried to hint at things before. And I'm like, Mary doesn't...
about you.
Yeah, about me. And I was like, Mary doesn't see it? Like, why can't you help her see her worth?
Right.
And he was like, Michelle, you're so frustrating because I'm talking about you. And I was trying so hard to be like, how's your relationship with Mary? How about you guys work on things? Like, if you don't want to be together, then don't be together.
Right.
But if you want that relationship, then build that relationship. Stop coming to me, pretty much.
Right. He did that to me, too. He was like, I was in Vegas at this time, and he was talking about that he was going to come visit. And I was like, no, I don't want things to be hard for you. Mm-hmm. Meaning...
That's what I was doing, too.
Right. I was
Literally.
like, meaning, like, your
from
wife's about to have a kid. Like, I don't want you to take time away from that, because what if she has a kid? You know? Like, what if she has her baby soon?
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. And then he was like, oh, like, are you talking about the same thing I'm talking about? And I was like, I think so. And he, like, came at me, and he's like, oh yeah, like, I like you so much, I want to be with you. And I'm like, I didn't know how to say no to anybody. That was the main thing.
No, because we can't say no in the order, though.
Right.
So, and he knows that. And when I asked his age in the emails, then he's like, I'm so much closer in age than those perverts coming forward on you. And, like, the person I was supposed to marry is 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
Not 20.
Did Mary know, like, everything that was going on? Was she part of the issue? Was she...
She didn't know about me until I told her, like, last year.
Really?
How would she not, though? Because wasn't he going to places with you? Wasn't he talking to you at 2 in the morning?
It was only at night, and he was, like, tell her that he was working, and, like, literally he would tell... So this is what I was going to say. I literally, like, asked, like I said, first started, I said, how can I get in contact with Escaping Polygamy? And he ignored that question. And then eventually, as we talked more, I'm like, kept trying to bring it back to focus, and he's trying to be like all sexual and like be there for me. And I would told him, I'm like, well, I need a plan to leave. I know I want to leave. I've known for a long time. I need someone to help me do that because I obviously can't do it on my own. And he's like, let me take care of it. I will put you somewhere. Like, I'll make sure you have a home. And I was saying, like, okay, well, give me the details. So I left in August. He told me that I wasn't allowed to leave till the next January. And he was so mad. Like, I was scared to tell him that I had already left because it had to go through him. And I couldn't know any of the details.
Yeah.
Because he was just going to take care of it. And I'm like, well, this is my life. This is my future. I can't just let you take care of it.
Some random guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I will. Your date to leave is January. We'll figure it out just like I figured it out for Mary. And he told me about, like, you, and he told me that there was this girl who's still in the order. And he told me that, and he showed me pictures of, obviously, that he had taken. And then when I eventually told his wife, then she's like, nothing ever happened. And I'm like, well, that's not what the pictures told me.
How old was she in those pictures?
She was underage because she got married right when she was turning 18.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think, yeah, she was 17 in that.
wow.
I thought you were saying pictures of me. I'm like, there's no way. There's no pictures of me.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
But he
'cause
did
I never.
say you by name. He messaged me, and I have screenshots of our messages, and he said, I was never given a chance. The second I was born, I had the odds against me. I don't know the exact words, but I have the screenshots. But it was.
He has rich parents.
I know.
And he would tell me about how, like, they were always going on vacation.
Mm-hmm. Well, he said that, well, he never had a chance. And then he told me, Priscilla broke my heart.
How did she break his heart? I want to know.
Priscilla,
How?
the child, broke
Right.
this old man's heart. He was like, she told me that she would do anything for me. She told me that she would live polygamy for me. And she was like gonna give the world for me. And then she just, look at her, she doesn't even talk about me. That's what he told me, and I'm like,
That is so embarrassing.
He's supposed to
Okay.
be relevant in my story. What is this? Like, it's been almost 8 years.
in Whistleblower,
Yeah.
she used your story.
Right, and American Greed.
And then American Greed,
I was like-
then she started taking parts of my story. And when I watched that, I was so pissed off because I'm
Yeah.
like, you have never said certain things that I literally have said since the day that I've left, before I've left.
Right.
My story has stayed the same,
Right.
but her story has adjusted to whatever she feels like is, I don't know if
It's
it's,
gonna get her on TV and money or whatever
and what's
it
going
is.
to sound more like salacious. And then they always talk about how he saved her. I'm like, do you not realize that you're literally talking about grooming, the thing we're
Right.
fighting against?
Exactly.
And he's like so proud of it. And even on American Greed, I was embarrassed to be a part of it because of the fact that
were
they.
you a part of it?
I was. It was like the Bryan and Mary love story. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you are realizing you're saying all these things, you're saying the facts that he helped her leave. He met when she was at college. But she was underage. And you were way too old to be flirting with her,
Right.
having sex with her.
But then on American Greed, they were like, the relationship was never sexual until she was 18.
And that's not true.
I know.
He told me
because
that it was
They
not
both
true.
told me that was not true.
Well, and even one of the times, so we would always meet like at night because that was the only time I could get away. We were in his mom's basement and he took off his clothes and told me, are you going to take off your clothes now? And I said no. And I was underage. So if he would not stop there with me,
Yeah.
what makes, like, I'm not going to believe that he didn't go all the way with her.
Right.
He tried multiple times with me and he would like make out with my neck because I'm like would not kiss him. Because I'm like, I don't want to kiss you. I
Yeah.
don't want to do anything like that.
Where is Mary in this? Where is she?
No, and there were
Leaving?
times we were literally sitting inside their apartment or their condo, whatever you want to call it, by the front door. And I'm like, what if she comes downstairs? And he's like, isn't that exciting? And he mentioned live in polygamy. And
Yeah.
I was like, I think that's the big difference too, though, is that she didn't necessarily find issue with the way the order was. She just didn't want to marry who she was told. Like, for me, I didn't agree with polygamy. So I told him, like, I'm not about that life. And he, thought he could talk about it with both of us. because Mary never really saw it as an issue.
I feel like it wasn't that she didn't see it as an issue. I feel like she just wanted to do everything to make him happy.
And
Like,
I
she was
saw that.
so
Yeah.
brainwashed by this man. And because it's so funny that he says, like, that I said I would live polygamy for him because I said that I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, well, that's why I know Mary loves me more, because she said that she would live polygamy for me.
Well, and then we would say things
Right,
like that.
he would guilt us.
He would say, well, Priscilla told me that she would do this for me. And then you're not doing that. So when I contacted Mary about it, and I told her, I said, Mary, you need to understand. Like, first, I told her, I said, I'm sorry it's taking me so long. I didn't want to hurt you for the part that I played. I acknowledge I was underage. I'm not at fault, and I don't blame myself for this. But I did play a part in that.
Right.
So, like, I do have some sort of responsibility. But I told her, like, so this is what happened. And she's like, well, now it makes sense why he never wanted me to get too close to you. And he was always so interested in everything we said. I told her, I said, Mary, you need to understand that his actions, he's a predator. I could read the messages, but she was, like, mad and hurt and upset. And, like, I understand that. But it's not my fault.
Right.
That his name is next to the word in the dictionary. Like, he literally lines up.
Right. Exactly.
So don't be getting mad at me, but she was like so mad at me. And I told her, I said, you know what, I hope that you protect your kids.
Yeah.
Because even like my kid's dad, then anytime he heard that Bryan was going to be anywhere near me or the kids, he said, I have to be there. I will not let my kids even get to know Bryan. I don't want Bryan touching my kids because he obviously knows what happened. But
Right.
So we know how Bryan contacted you was through the website, and I'll show the website clip. But how did he contact you? Because the website wasn't made till after you were out, right?
So actually, when I had gotten into contact with Escaping Polygamy, then I went to lunch with one of the producers, and Bryan was there, and he just made sure he like got my number, and he was constantly messaging me. Like, I didn't even know his wife, honestly, and he was the one messaging me. He was like, you need to ask the producers if I can be the one that travels with you to Vegas. You need to do, like, he wanted to be so involved in my thing. And my cousin ended up being the one that came with me, and he was so mad. And I'm like, well, I don't understand why he's getting so mad. Like, I don't even know him. Just, like, threw himself into my life. And then he was the one that was constantly, like, he was calling me when I was at the order dance. I was like, I have to get off the phone. Like, somebody's going to find out.
when we lack so much attention,
Right.
he knows that. So that he knows that's the one thing he can give you
Right.
that you've never like really had.
Yeah.
Because with me, he within the first couple weeks of we were messaging, he's like, you need to answer me. Why aren't you answering me? At this point, again, I didn't know who he was. I
Right.
didn't know his gender. I didn't know anything about him. And he said, I get that you're in this tough situation, but you should really dedicate more time to answering me if you expect me to help you. And I was like, okay. And I told him, I responded as who I was. I'm sorry, I was doing homework. I was trying to get it done before it was due. And he's like, well, you need to give me like a schedule to let me know when you're available for me then. And this was like, again, I did not even know his gender. And he was going like extreme right at the beginning. And then Mary was blaming us. She's like, well, she told me that you were an adult.
No, I wasn't. When it started, no.
No, and that's the part that matters. Like, if you get into it when you're underage, then it's hard to get out of it when you're of age.
Right, especially because it's like, so in my mind, right, he was the one that was helping me the most. He was there for me. And I was on, like, it was so weird because it was like, he did make me feel like I liked him.
He did.
Right. And
like,
I was
he convinced you.
Like, you needed his approval. And it was literally like me going from trying to please my parents to trying to please him.
And he
was just
purpose.
as hard to please. And so...
Well, he literally told me, he said, I have the messages. He said, write me a paragraph of what I mean to you. He did that to me.
Ew!
He was literally like, okay.
And then
first
he would
of-
tell me, like, that's not good enough. Like, go
Oh
back to the
my
drawing
He would be like,
gosh.
that's it.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, literally.
That's crazy. I totally forgot he did that. Yeah, so I literally, like, he sent me this long paragraph of all the reasons he liked me, and then he was like, now it's your turn. And I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, well, like, you're really cool. Like, I don't
Like,
know. And then he was
you're
like,
there for me.
that's it?
No, I know. And then he would literally tell me, he's like, send me a picture of you. And I would like send a picture of my foot. Just because I'm like, I'm not sending a picture to you.
Right.
I don't even know who you are. And then he was like, you know what I mean. And then I sent him a picture of my face, like with my hand covering my face, because I didn't like pictures, because I was obviously in the order we're super
Yeah.
insecure. But then, so I did that, and he was like, that's not what I mean. And he's like, you're so frustrating, Michelle. You're not even getting it. I know that you understand. You're just plain stupid.
Like, he wanted to, yeah.
And then he would send me pictures as I was underage. And I'm
Of
like,
nudes or?
both.
Oh
Yeah,
my
like,
god.
So,
Both.
you know what he did, actually? They were pictures on his wife's phone, and he sent them from her phone to him, and then he deleted that he sent it.
Oh
But
my
she
god.
saw on her, like, laptop. She was like, why did you send those pictures? And he was like, oh, like, I just wanted them for myself. But then he would like always sending them to me. And I
What
didn't
the
know through. I'm like,
hell?
oh my god, like, you know, when someone.
And I never sent him a picture because,
Yeah.
well, like, I sent him pictures of my face, but I never took
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
off my clothes. So then the next thing was when I said, it was in my car. And he's like, are you going to take your clothes off? And I was like, no. And then the next time he's like, okay, let's go to my mom's basement. And then he was like, are you going to take your clothes off? And I was
Oh
like,
my god.
no. And I told Mary, I said, in my opinion, he is worse than the men in the order because the women in the order at least know what they're in for.
Right.
Like, he knows that he's taking advantage of our trauma and he's using it to his advantage.
Right.
Like, you don't see him out here doing it to all these random girls. Maybe there
Exactly.
is, but at the same time, he knows where his target is. He's found his target, and he's just going to sit there watching the door.
Right.
All of the ones who leave, he's going to be watching the door, watching them walk out, and be like,
Oh,
there it is.
yeah.
Now it's time. Now
know.
it's time. And that's why I want to get it out, because I'm like, I know he talked about you. He talked about other girls in the order that he did it to. So people should know who he is. And then he's on all these different TV shows, and
He's his hero.
He's
Right.
well, he's making himself out to be this hero, and even these news anchors, like these journalists, if they sat and put the pieces together, they would see how wrong this is, and they go to
Right.
him for. Because I asked Mary, I said, why are you speaking on something that you're not a part of?
Exactly.
And she said, it's not my fault, it's not our fault that they want his opinion. Not her opinion, his opinion. And I said, well, because he's made himself out to be this hero, when really he's taken advantage of way too many people.
Yeah, he's made it his life mission to get the respect, the fame, the money that comes with taking down this group.
And he told me that. And
I know.
Yeah, so he's like, he's not shy about that, but he leaves out the part, like, I have all these victims.
Right.
It's so frustrating to see all these journalists go to him and be like, I know for a fact that he, in the past, have called them and said,
No, he
do
has.
you know that you need to talk to me? People have told me that he has called them saying, you need me and my wife. It's always him first,
Right.
and then she's the after fact. And it's
Right.
like, you've never been in there.
Exactly.
You have all this information from Priscilla, from Michelle, from all these different victims that you victimized.
Right.
What do you know?
Exactly.
You didn't grow up in it. You didn't go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that on some level he admires Paul and the different ones for all the things that they've been able to get away with.
For sure.
I think he's jealous that he can't be a member.
Right. He probably wishes that he could start his own and that it would be successful. And it's like,
Well, he had made jokes about that to me.
yeah.
And I was like, you know that I am trying to leave, right? You remember that? And he was like, well, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And at that point I'm like, are you?
Is he though? That's crazy to me that you have all of these receipts because he literally wiped my phone.
No. So he told me, he said, Michelle, you need to delete everything, and then send me a screenshot that you deleted it. And guess what I did? My dumb ass swiped up, held it there, took the screenshot, and sent him with the blank thing. And he told me, he would say, like, if I ask you to do something, will you promise that you'll do it and you won't ask any questions? And I would say, like, well, what is it? And he's like, you're so frustrating.
He's such a little boy.
He's used to me where I'm like, okay.
Do you remember the part that I told you? He would call me while I was at work, and you know how the order is. Like,
Yeah.
You can't just be getting random fucking phone calls.
Right.
And there was one time he called me, and my mom was right there, and the app that I was using for the phone call was sound like an alarm. It was like and it would not stop for 3 minutes. I literally timed it because I'm like, I'm not answering his call, and I couldn't like snooze it. I couldn't do anything, and my mom was there when it started ringing, and I almost got caught because I was working, and then he's like, Michelle, you're not responding to me. And then I finally go to my car at work and be like, okay, what's up? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And I was there for him. And he's like, Michelle, I'm going through a hard time. And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do about it? Like,
Right.
like you have more advantage than I do. And he would always use that against me. Sorry, I know I keep getting off topic, but he would always use that against me. Like, you're not doing all the things I'm doing for you. And I'm like, bro, I'm literally captive in this order.
Like, what do you want me to do? I can't even get $20.
No, well, literally, I can't do shit. But then he's like, Michelle, I'm hurting so bad right now. And I'm like, okay, like, what would you like me to do about it? And we had the talk that I can't do much for him. And then he said, will you sing to me?
Did you?
No.
I really feel like what he was doing, he was just testing, like, what he could get you to do. That's it. That's all he was doing, because he would do stuff like that to me too. How is it possible that Mary didn't know? Because that's the thing, like, she told everybody she didn't know with me, and that may have been the case at the beginning, because he was very like, yeah, we're not together, but she doesn't like to talk about it, so don't bring it up. But then like, for when my birthday came, then they gave me gifts together, and he was like, welcome to our family. And so I was just like she knows or she doesn't, like you know, like,
what is the level there?
it felt like she knew.
Do you want to say anything else before we open the screenshots? Well, you guys are free to talk now. You guys are free to move on. She's still stuck.
Right.
Which we did want to make sure we set a brief moment in here, like, if she is watching, which I guarantee she's going to watch, this is not to isolate you or make you feel like we want to be able to
support you.
Yeah, exactly. We're your family. But at the end of the day,
we are not going to protect him.
Exactly.
And if that means, if you don't feel like we're protecting you because we're outing him, that is your fault. And we will be here for when you're ready to stop protecting him. And when you're ready to stand up for yourself. And as I said in my messages to you, I hope one day you choose to leave him to protect yourself and your kids. That's what I hope, and that's what I pray for you and your kids.
And that's what we're on your team. And I was on your team when we were best friends at 18. And I'm still here. But the reason why we're not friends, I mean, you know, is because Bryan wanted to be so involved with our friendship. He was making you record my conversations and give them back to him. He was making him be on the phone. I didn't want to be friends with a predator. And sadly, sometimes I feel guilty, actually, that I had to let you go too. But I couldn't handle it. My mental health couldn't handle him. So I can only imagine what you're going through.
Right. That's what I wanted to say too, is like, I understand, like, I don't know how long Michelle was like around him, but I was only around him for a few months, and like, he was able to manipulate me so much. Like, I can only imagine how you feel, and
I know
how scary it is for you, because he is really good at like making you feel alone. Like, I
Yes,
doubt you even have one friend that you're allowed to have, because he didn't even want you around your own family, or even his family for that matter, because even they knew that he was
who he was.
a piece of shit. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Can we say that part, that his own mom offered to help Mary leave him?
Yeah,
That's what he told me.
his family has been on Mary's side because they know how much harm and damage he's done to her, and they feel bad for her.
I know we already know what he's gonna say, but from our own mouths, we're on your side.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe that, I hope you do one day. I wanted to speak up for future victims, but like I didn't want to embarrass you because of how much you mean to me. But at this point, he's inserting himself where he doesn't belong.
After the whole, like, everyone moved out of the house and you guys moved somewhere else, I was like, there's no point in warning anybody, there's no point in whatever,
Bringing it
like,
back up, opening the wound.
I'm just gonna move on because he has no one else to, like, nobody else is gonna come to them for help at this point. And then now that I'm finding out that it happened to Michelle afterwards, I'm like, what the hell? Like, I really thought that he would have no chance of having anything to do with any girl in the order, and that's why I didn't say anything.
And that he would grow up.
Right. That he would realize, like, you could have gone to jail, sir.
And the scary thing is, it's like, Michelle has come forward.
Right.
How many have not? Like, you guys are both coming forward, and we know of the one that went back to the order because we happened to be around it when it was happening.
Right.
Well, and he told me about it. And I saw the pictures.
Yeah. And we are going to be showing the screenshots, don't you worry.
I got the screenshot.
I don't have any because he literally erased my entire phone. Like, he logged into my phone on iCloud and just deleted the whole thing. Like, everything that I had on
After
there.
you
So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into, like, basically all of the significant moments. And this isn't to be like gossip or blah, blah, blah. This is so that we can see
The
his
truth
patterns of behavior.
is to get the truth out.
Exactly. And so whatever, I feel like also there's going to be a lot of people in the comments that know men like this, sadly. And if you do, run, bitch.
Well, and you deserve to be heard. I want to say, I want everyone to know that it's not your fault if an older man preys on you, because he always made it feel like it was our fault.
Right.
For something, like if we felt uncomfortable, well, that's your fault. And it's not your fault. It's never too late to stand up for yourself and walk away from what's not good for you. It's not something to be ashamed of, to stand up for yourself, whatever that looks like for you. No one should be able, like, no one can invalidate you and your experiences.
Exactly.
You are enough. Your voice is enough. You don't need, like, the screenshots. You don't need all these different things. You are valid, and you deserve to be fought for, whatever that looks like.
I think it got to a kind of sticky situation because of Mary, because we all loved Mary.
Right.
'Cause even for me, I felt like there was a point where I was like, I'm protecting Bryan because I don't want her to look bad and I don't want to embarrass her and I want to be her friend still. But in that meant that I was protecting an abuser.
Honestly, for a really long time, I didn't want to look bad. I was like, I can't believe I did that. Like,
And sadly,
blamed
everyone went
everything.
to blaming you.
Right.
when
Everybody
there was
cut me
more.
off. So my family had just cut me off in the order, and then this whole thing happened with Bryan, and then everyone outside of the order cut me off. I was like, I am the worst, like the most horrible person ever. Like, I can't believe I did that.
And I'm guilty. I was like, Priscilla, why did you do that? But also, I was so close to Mary, too.
Yeah.
And I thought that you guys
yeah.
were closer, too. So I was like, what was going on? But there was a moment where we were all so confused on what was going on because Bryan was
Right.
lying to different lies for each of us.
And he actually kept me and Mary apart. Like, the only time that we hung out was us three all together. And he would say small things like, oh, like, he got me a bunch of birthday gifts, and then him and her gave me them together, and he was like, oh, welcome to the family. And the things that he would say in front of her made me really believe that she knew what was going on and that they weren't really together like that. And he was just, like, lying about that type of stuff. And then he said, like, oh, well, she said that she would live polygamy for me. And then he asked me if I would live polygamy for him, and I'm like, no. And he's like, well, she must love me more because she's willing to do it and you're not. And I'm like, okay, well, like, go be with her then, because I'm not going to do that for you.
Wow.
So
then, I guess I am part to blame for, not blame, but like I started to notice things like the tickling on the neck, right? And then I started to talk to Mary a little bit more, and then we started to discuss some weird things that we noticed. And I was like, you need to go through his phone. And she was like, well, he doesn't let me touch his phone. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, red flag, first of all. But, I mean, to me, I know of your opinions on that. Like, if you're married and someone's super possessive over their phone, in my opinion, they're hiding something.
Yeah.
And guess what? Every time I've been right. So,
Right.
she wouldn't go through his phone, though, and she wouldn't even dare to touch it. Instead, she decided to go to your phone.
Yeah, I went to use the shower, and my phone was left plugged in, and when I came back down, it was gone. I'm like, has anyone seen my phone? And I asked her, and she's like, no, I haven't seen your phone. I'm like, okay, like, I'll just keep looking. And then she's like, I'm just kidding, I do have it, but I'll give it back to you later. And me, like I said, I didn't know how to say no to anybody. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, whenever you want to give me my phone back.
So anyone in the comments or anyone on the outside that's like, how did all these girls get wrapped up in it? Just picture brainwashed kids who were taught their whole life to people
Well,
please.
even not
Right.
to like highlight me, but look at how I was on Escaping Polygamy. Look at that small little girl. That was after he was already trying to get naked with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so imagine me now versus then. That's how.
You're very outspoken now.
That's
You're
how.
like,
You're like, can you
fuck
shut up?
She's like, yeah, you speak a lot. Speak a lot less now. No, but it's a good point. All of these girls, like all of us, were so much younger, but also at the end of the day, Bryan wants to pat himself on the back for being a manipulator. It could have been anyone. Mary was flat out like, I'll give your phone back later, and you're just okay.
Okay.
We don't
Right.
question things. Our brain is starting to learn how to work once we leave
Right.
because there's no one to brainwash until Bryan or someone else decides to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
So Mary takes your phone. Didn't she leave the house with it?
She had it for like hours. She brought it downstairs, and then she like called Bryan downstairs, and then they were talking for a while, and then he came back up, and then he went back down, and I didn't even know what was going on, honestly. Then he was like, here, log into your iCloud on my phone, and he reset my entire phone. And then she came running up. She's like, what did you do? You got out of it. And I'm like, no, like I didn't, because I didn't even know what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to get it. She was like, well, then log it back in if you don't care if I look at it. And I'm like, okay, but everything was like completely gone, not even on iCloud. So it was just like this whole thing.
And that didn't just erase all of his evidence, but like pictures of your family,
Right.
pictures in the
Literally.
order. He didn't give a fuck about
Mm-hmm.
you. He just cared about covering his ass. So at that point, did you realize something is weird? Something's going on here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I already like knew that he was being, I don't know, I mean, he really did like manipulate me into caring about him.
Obviously, because he was the first person to, help you and to be out here. Kind of,
Right.
he put himself as the savior
Mhm.
for you. I don't know that it would have gone. Well, who knows? Depending on the level of brainwash, whatever, anyone is capable of anything. But at the end of the day, it was easier for him to manipulate you because he made it seem like Mary was out of the picture.
Right.
And that's the story that a lot of older people don't know. A lot of
Mhm.
older people think that Priscilla was just like jumping into his bed.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary doesn't care that that's how it looks.
No, and Priscilla was victimizing the old man who is Bryan.
Right, like
The child.
What was it that I like seduced him?
Yeah, she seduced him. This
My
little
17-year-old self.
yeah, this old man.
Right.
My gosh.
Bryan was just so helpless in the matter.
Right. Definitely, I do think that he kept a lot of stuff from me and a lot of stuff from her, but it wasn't as like black and white as just like I was trying to steal someone's husband, you know?
So after that whole phone thing, how did you get kicked to Vegas after that, or?
Yeah. So first, then we had the whole conversation where like you and Eric brought me and Mary together, and we talked it out, and I told her everything that like went on, and she like on something she would be like, oh, I didn't know that, like, and she would just ask me questions, and I told her everything. And then I went to Vegas after that, and she was messaging me, and she was saying like her and Bryan broke up, and even Bryan was messaging me, but I was like, you know what, like I have had enough drama, like you guys made everybody hate me, and now you're trying to like, now she's trying to like be my best friend again. So I was like, I'm good, I don't need, like, I'm just gonna stay here in Vegas, I don't need anything to do with you guys. And then she convinced me, like she kept begging me to go see him for his birthday. She was like, that's all he wants for his birthday. Like, please go see him. I promise we're really not together this time. And
So then why are you coming to me? Why do you care so much about him?
Right. So finally I agreed and flew to Utah. He picked me up from the airport. We got food, went back to the house, the same house, and they had already moved out, so no one was there, like barely even any furniture was there. And we ate and then went upstairs to talk, and then he was obviously like trying to have sex with me. I'm like, I'm not gonna have sex with you, like we're just supposed to talk. And then she busts out
Of the closet?
like recording me, and she was like, oh, it's your whore, like she's a homewrecker. I don't know exactly what she said. She probably has the video still, but
Can you send that to us?
right, can you send it to me? Like I said, she lured me there and then recorded that whole thing, acting like I was there, like cheating on her, like cheating with her husband. And I'm like, oh my god, like what is going on? She's like, I know you would have had sex if I didn't come out of the closet. I'm like, I literally just said
No.
I'm not gonna have sex with him.
Can we rewind that on your little recorder?
Right, like you
have
didn't
it,
have her. Yeah, and then that was the last time that I actually saw him in person. And then he was still, like, I went back to Vegas and he was still messaging me. He was like trying to fix things with me. He was like, me and Mary really are not together. And I'm like, I don't care what you guys are, what you're doing. Leave me alone. I'm good. I mean, I don't remember exactly what I said, but then at the end he was like, okay, but if you ever need anything, you can always message me. Just email me so Mary doesn't see.
Wow.
And so I sent a screenshot of that to her. I was like, come get your man, because obviously that's your man.
Put him in the streets.
Right.
I was trying to help her. She was talking to me about like divorcing him, and she really was like, I remember thinking her brain, well, all of our brains were so like moldable, because if she would spend like a day with me, which she did, we talked about it, and she was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a divorce, and I was like, and I'll help tend your baby. Like, she just had her first baby and she's dealing with all of this, and I was like so committed to being there for her. And the second that she went back to Bryan, all of a sudden her tune changes. It's not what I thought it was. And I'm over here like, what happened to the 8 hours of how you're gonna leave him talk? But it was crazy, because then after this, I think she was convinced that he really was a different person, right? Because he said I wish I was there to hear it. I didn't hear it. He said this whole thing.
She wanted to believe, so she got herself to believe.
And once he knew I was not on the table anymore, he had to do everything to fix things with her.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to lose 2 girls.
Yeah, jeez. But she begged me, as she was telling me that she was going to leave him, she begged me not to tell Rachel or anyone else, because she was very embarrassed. And I was like, she was like, at least until I divorce him. And I was like, I can do that, but I'm not going to have my sister living in a house with him. So either you tell her, or I'm going to tell her, because we're moving her out of there. As soon as I found out, you bet your ass, like, I got my sister out of there. And my sister was never preyed upon. Well, I'm sure he tried certain tactics with her, but I was there all the time. There was nothing that happened to this extent. So I told Mary, I was like, you tell my sister about your husband, or I will. Like, she's not going to be in the dark with this predator. So Mary did agree to tell her, but she kept begging me to promise, like, not to tell anyone until she divorces him. Obviously, we know she didn't divorce him. And I want to say 6 months to maybe a year. I don't know the exact timeline. Later, my Aunt Juliana, you've seen her on my Cold Cup of Coffee with Michelle and Harper.
On Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm. And Juliana messages me and she's like, hey, I think Mary's husband Bryan is on Tinder. Are they divorced? And I was like, no, they are not. So I went and got my friend from junior high. I asked her if I could use her picture to try to, because I knew that if I sent a screenshot to Mary, he was going to lie. Just like he lied all the time. You know, he could say someone else hacked the account, blah, 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 someone made a fake account, all these lies that Mary would just eat up. So I made sure to get an account created with my friend's face on it. Her name was Lexi, Sexy Lexi. And then you can't just search Bryan Nelson you have to swipe. So I was swiping for hours for you, Mary.
And look how you repaid her.
I would do it again for you. That was the thing, is I was like, I need to help her see. In reality, like, I can't make you see anything. You could watch this whole thing and still think that we're all just liars and
We're all just trying to be mean to you.
Yeah, but the reality is I wanted so bad for you to see it and for you to be free from him. So I scrolled on that fucking Tinder phone and I found him. And you know how you can like super match. I learned that you can super match with him. So I super matched with him. And of course he super matches with me. And instantly, what drew you to me? Like, he instantly was wanting me to gas him up. And I'm like, Cammie, you take the phone. I cannot. He's going to know it's me because I'm going to be like, fuck you. So Cammie helped me. She played into it. She's like, I need to get him to send photos. I need to get more evidence. So she did really good. He sent photos. He sent, I remember one of them was him with a bicep. I hope, maybe I can find the screenshots. And I'm like, okay, this is enough. Like, we have plenty of evidence. He talked about how he was married and had 2 kids, but he was never in love. Like, he talked really bad about Mary, which is so sad because it's like, here she is so dedicated and loyal to him while he's over here talking shit on Tinder with some stranger. That was me. So I get the screenshots and I make sure that I have all the evidence, and I was like, how are we gonna tell her? And we ended up taking her out. I think we went snowboarding or skiing or something, and we told her, showed her. And I remember her going to the bathroom, and I felt bad. I almost felt bad for telling her, but I was like, I would want to know. If it was my husband, I would be mad at first. I would probably be a little bit upset at how they found the evidence.
Right.
But I would be like, thank you for doing that for me. Like,
right.
Not a lot of people would do that for you. But she cried about it a little bit and then left, and then I think that's when I found out she got pregnant with her second kid. Yeah, around that time. So...
Wow.
I obviously don't know what else Bryan's been doing because I'm not on Tinder.
I feel
it's
like
probably on there.
I feel like it's probably every time he does something or every time she finds out he does something, he gets her pregnant again.
Maybe. That could very well be it. Because now we're on to a 3rd kid.
Right.
I think that's it for our whole part, right? So when you're ready, then you can say when you got drawn into this. Okay. That's the embarrassing part.
It's so embarrassing.
Where we suffer in secondhand embarrassment.
So embarrassing that it's embarrassing. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
An embarrassment. Okay. So we got through the first victim. We talked about your story. We talked about how we found him on Tinder. This is just all the stuff that we saw for ourselves. Now, Priscilla's gone at this point. You're in the order. And you...
Well, so... I had everyone knows, I've always wanted to leave the order since I was little because I didn't want to be abused. So this specific day, I had picked up the kids from school and I had fought with my 2 younger brothers, and we were like hitting each other as I was driving, arguing different things. And I literally got home and I was crying and I'm like, look what the order is turning me into. Like, this is not who I want to be. I don't want to be fighting with my younger siblings as I'm trying to drive, punching each other. Like, this is not what I want. He had a website that was like KingstonClan.com, and he had like pictures about the families and the order of the kids and different wives and different things and like the relations. And so there was an email on that website, and I'm like, I had seen Escaping Polygamy, so I'm like, okay, so there is a way to live outside. Let me contact them. And I didn't have I couldn't, it's like there's not a number at the end of their show, like, call this number.
Right.
But so I found that website and there was an email. It was stoppaulkingston at outlook.com. That was the email. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna email and say I need help. So I set up a different email that wasn't traced to anything with mine, and it was ready to leave. And I literally said, do you know a way that I can get in touch with people from Escaping Polygamy? I don't want to be a part of these things anymore. And coincidentally, I got beat later that night.
For what? Just randomly?
Well, partially for fighting with my younger siblings, and then that's when my mom went off. It was a bad beating, but anyways. And he didn't say anything. So then I messaged a few days later,
I'm like, if this is nothing else, it's just going to be like my outlet, my diary, so to speak. And I said, here in the order, we as kids are expected, I was sitting in church, kids are expected to sit and watch as our fathers make out and have sex and listen to them doing these things with the women who are not our mothers. The girls they do these things with are the ones who they have cheated on them, while other moms who have remained faithful. And we're just expected to watch those kids, the kids of the girls of whoever they want to have sex with. This isn't how things are supposed to be. And then he finally responded and said,
Why is the name S.P. Kingston? Oh,
Saul Paul Kingston.
Oh.
I know these things are extremely hard and we will do everything to help you, but you have to keep in mind that we are sent a lot of fake things to trap us. There has to be a way we can both learn that we are being real with each other. So that's what he said. And I was like, yeah, I understand, I get that. I'm not trying to be the next insider. I just am going crazy. Every time I look around, everything really bothers me and nobody cares. I'm just a bad kid. I'm trying to cause a problem. Just all those things. And I said, thanks for listening. Like, literally, I used it as my diary. It's crazy because I'm a teenager and there's these people coming forward as a choice. Just literally, like, the situation I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, I can imagine it's very typical that you feel like there's no one to talk to. I'm here. You're definitely not a bad kid. You're smart. Nobody will find out that you're talking to me. So I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get abused, but if I get abused, at this point, I don't care. I just need to vent.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, so you're only talking to me to vent, not because you like talking to me? And we had this has been a week?
Wow.
And I didn't know his gender. I didn't know anything. I didn't know his name. I didn't know his age. And he's like, so it's just to vent and just to not go crazy, not because you like talking to me?
Wow.
After I got out all my initial feelings, and then I'm like, okay, I hope you're not anyone in the order. And now I came to my senses, okay, I vented enough. I'm calmed down. And then he said, well, I'm definitely not anyone in the order. You don't need to worry about that.
You don't worry, I'm worse than that.
I think you know who I am, do you?
Did you?
Because of the rumors. And I said, I've wondered if you were in the order. Were you in the order before? And he said, no, it's my turn to ask a question. And I said, I don't want to get too many specifics because I don't want it to get out there. And he said, so you're obviously one of the 7 brothers, Paul's brother's daughters. Which one? And I know it's not Paul or Joe, probably Daniel's daughter. I would be very happy and surprised if you were Jesse's daughter. And I was like,
why is he
why?
assuming you're a girl?
Because
She
she
asked?
said her choices.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
And I said, I'll admit I'm one of LaDonna's boys is my dad, but I don't want to go to exact specifics, for now at least. I respect that. And then he said, will you call me? I'm like, well, I can't talk right now. Do you mean right now? He was saying well, are you going to get an app? Do you need me to buy you a phone? I'll buy you a phone. And then he said, how old are you? That's my question. And I said, 16. So I'm underage. And he said, I assumed that was the case. When's your birthday? And I said, again, I don't want to get too close to specifics. And then he said, you have nothing to fear with me. I'm the person you can go to and trust with everything. You should know you can trust me because I am even willing for you to call me right now. Just take a leap of trust and you won't regret it. We started talking end of October. This is November. So it's super close.
What year?
2016.
Okay. And you left 2015? So it was a year after he starts.
And I said, it's not that I don't trust you, it's just that people here have hacked computers and maybe they're doing something like that and reading every email, but I'm open to taking that risk if it means I don't go crazy. And then that's when he said, so only to not go crazy and not to just talk to me. And I said, it's nice to talk to you and get it all out and have someone listen, but I also feel like if I don't get it all out, I'll go crazy. And I said, can I ask your age and your gender? And he quoted me. Sorry, I don't want to get too specific.
Wow.
And then he said, I'm a male and I'm a lot closer to age than those perverts coming forward on you. And I said, okay, thanks.
Not really, though.
Okay, thanks.
Well, no, actually, what I said,
Cool,
I said,
though.
thanks for letting me know. I said, how's your life? Sorry, I know I'm just talking about my life. He said, there's just so much going on. I'm so stressed. And I'm like, well, it can't be that bad. At least you're not in the order. And he's like, well, you're right.
Wow. So he's like unloading his sad little life.
Oh, and then he says, he messaged, that's what I meant. I have a lot to tell you. Please answer soon. I know you have a strict schedule for yourself. I can tell that because of the fact that you don't respond late because you have to get your sleep because you wake up early. I just hope you dedicate more time to responding to me.
Oh my god.
And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, literally, he wouldn't
We're literally
respond.
in a cult, and he's sitting there like, can you prioritize me, please?
Right.
And then he said, tell me when you're available and not available to answer me. Well,
Sorry.
at this point, it's been like not even a month.
Okay.
So it's been a little bit longer, but yeah. We got to a point where we would meet up. I'm like, I don't even know.
So you met up and Mary wasn't there?
No, it was in the middle of the night. It was outside their condo or whatever you want to call it. Or it was like he would have me drive down the street from his house and he would walk there. It was like different things.
He wouldn't let you just come into his house?
Well, there was one time that we would like we sat on the stairs right inside his front door, and I asked him, I'm like, aren't you worried like Mary will come down? He's like, isn't that exciting? And I was
so
like,
he told you that he was married and that he wanted to pursue you? Or how did
no,
he
well,
do that?
I knew he was married, and I told him like, I don't want anything. Like, I started the email. I just need to contact someone to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, like, I never wanted anyone to be like, oh, so she left for a boy. No, I didn't leave for Bryan. I didn't leave for a boy. I left because I wanted to leave when I was little.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were searching for it.
Yeah,
He
and
just
that's-
happened to be the one to, you know.
That was there on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we got to a point where we were messaging. Then he was saying, like, you're the only one that's there for me. I was doomed from the start. He would literally tell me, like, Michelle, I'm really going through something right now. And I was at work. He's like, you don't care about me because you're not answering right now. And then I'm like, okay. And I went to my car. You know, everybody knows how the order is, like how much of a risk I'm taking with my literal life. And just to freaking message him.
Right.
And so I go to the car and call him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm thinking like he's dying or something. And he says, will you sing to me? And I was like,
You're like, this is what you wanted? This is what I came here
yeah, but
Probably not.
for? What's Mary to sing for you?
well, then like some of the messages, you're someone that I care about. I think about you every day. I want you to be happy. I want to do that for you. Will you send me a picture of you without you asking me the same? And he's like, so he was saying too that, so he started talking, because I obviously knew he was married, and he told me he was having issues, like they were good and then they weren't, and I'm like, well, you should work with her because you have kids. If you wanted that, go for it. If you don't, don't. And then he was, one day, then, like, around that same conversation, he said, there's this girl I really love. I think she's amazing. I want everything for her. I want to be everything for her. And I said, okay, like, that's a good thing. And then he said, but this girl is like oblivious. She doesn't even know. And I said, well, why don't you tell Mary? Like, why don't you tell her that so she understands? And he's like, I'm not talking about Mary. He's like,
leave my wife out of this.
and then I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? Because I was trying so hard to not go there because I was uncomfortable with it.
Right.
And he's like, I'm talking about you, Michelle. And I was like, okay, thanks. I was so awkward about it because I'm like, okay.
Right.
But then he would just do things like that and say things like that. His handwriting, how much do you love me?
He wrote it out for you?
Yes.
Oh my
He did
god.
stuff like that.
And he wrote my name, his handwriting, his pictures. And then for his birthday, then he told me, he's like, Mary got me the newest iPhone. What are you gonna get me? And I was like, I'm over here.
I think that's what she got him the year I was there too.
Yeah. Which is weird though, because didn't he betray her that year? And then she goes and gets him a.
Right.
Well, and
She goes and rewards his behavior.
well, in my mind, I'm thinking like, I can't even buy myself like literally. I can't get gas without permission for my car. Like, and they keep track of how often I get gas because they're like, why are you using gas this fast? Like, down to the cent.
Right.
And I told him, I said, you know this, like, why, how am I supposed to get you something?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, there's things that don't involve money. And then he, like
a high five?
he tried in his car, or in my car, then he was, like, trying to make out with me. He, like, went to give me a hug, and I thought it was a hug, and so I was like, okay, I'll give him a hug. And then he tried that more and more, and then he started trying to, like, make out with me before I got like into the hug, and then I would like always turn my head and push him.
When you were 16 and you were still like going to see him. This was the meetings to help you leave.
Well, because I told him, I said, well, how can I leave? Help me get in touch with Escaping Polygamy. And at first he just completely ignored it, and then I kept pushing it because I'm like, I need a plan. And he's like, let me take care of it. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And I'm like, well, I need to know what the plan is for the rest of my life.
Right.
What's the point of you meeting up with him if he's just gonna plan the whole thing out without you?
Well, that's what he had told me. He's like, well, let's talk about it in person. I have something I can only talk about you with in person because we don't want anyone to find out. And then each time it would be like him trying to push it more. And then one time he said, do you want to lay with me in your back seat? And I'm like, no. And so we didn't, and he's like, why won't you just let me lay by you, and can't we just cuddle or different things? Then it got to a point where he's like, meet me. I don't know if I met him at his mom's house or I took him there. I think I met him at his mom's house. And we went inside into the basement, and he took off his clothes, got down to his underwear, and he was like, are you gonna take off your clothes? And I said, no.
Where was his mother?
Like, everyone was asleep.
Oh.
And
Where
it was
was
all dark.
this whole time? I'm like, where is Mary in all this? Is she just chilling?
She's chilling with her kids, taking care of their kids. But then, so he's like, you're really gonna make me, like, you made me get naked, and you're not gonna do the same? And I was like, no.
Wow.
Okay.
He's a grown-ass adult, and your little 16-year-old
Well,
is making
and I
you
didn't
naked.
say anything. Like, I didn't know that was gonna happen. But he literally stood there like, you're not going to? No. But then, after that, he told me, like, how I would push him to do things like that, and it was my fault. And I'm like, I don't even want to talk about this. I want to focus about leaving. That's why I reached out to you in the first place, and I kept like bringing that up, bringing it back to the focus. And then he told me, he said, fine, I'll give you a date, but I'm going to take care of everything. I will find you a place to live. I will make sure you're safe. I will make sure you have money. I will make sure everything. And I said, okay, give me the date. And he said January of 2018. And I'm like, I can't wait that long.
Because you were talking to him from 2016.
I can't wait that long. He was beating around the bush. So in December of 2016, that's when I made the fake Facebook and was like, you're not helping me. Let me just figure this out. And we'll see who helps me more, pretty much. Let's see who's going to get me what I need.
Right.
And so I started talking to them, and I was talking to Escaping Polygamy, and they said, like, Kate, tell us when you want to leave. And I told them, well, I need to wait till after I obviously turned 17. My mom was pregnant at the time. She was due in May. So I'm like, I need to wait till she has the baby to make sure she doesn't die. Then we had to go to Comic-Con and lift all my dad's shit because my mom will have a brand new baby. She can't do it by herself. So I said, I need to wait till July. And then, I know this is like so many steps,
This
but
always happens.
But I
though
was
in
trying to
some
take
movies.
care of everybody, and then even
Right.
Escaping Polygamy, they're like, are you like just trying to make it
Prolong
like,
it.
yeah, are
It's
you
not
just-
the reality. It's you. You
no?
have to
And I'm
remember.
like,
you
I need to
feel
take
really bad.
I need to take care of all my bases. Like, I had to make sure my braces were paid off because I had braces when I left, and so then I said, okay, I'm gonna wait till after we get back from California so I can help my mom, and then let me go to my dad's family outing so I can see all of my family one last time. So I had that plan, and then, like, to him, I was just, like, trying to, like, just, like, you're not taking care of me like you said you would. You're not doing what I need you to do. Kind of trying to drop him. And then he, like, would randomly pop up and be like, well, he would pop up and say things like, sorry, I'm trying to remember everything, I'm tired.
I know.
But
We've been filming for so long.
He would say things like, will you send me a picture without you asking for the same? And I'm like, no. I'm at this point, you're done. I'm done. And then I ended up leaving August 15th, 2017. And I didn't even tell him that I had left. And then I met up with him after, and I told him, I'm like, I wanted to let you know, like, I've left. I'm done. Like, and he wanted me to wait till the following January. And the week I left, remember on Escaping Polygamy, the week I left, I was supposed to have a meeting with Paul and my dad. So I was already, like, putting it down to the days. And he wanted me to just wait for him.
Yeah.
So I left when I left, and he was so upset. He's like, did you go with Escaping Polygamy? And I said, yeah. And he said, I can't believe you would do this to me. You don't know all the ways they've wronged me. They wouldn't have had a show without me. You know, how he's always the hero.
You're not even from the order. Stop trying to be a wannabe.
Well, and then all that happened, and he told me, he's like, you can never contact Mary. You can never speak about me ever. And all these, like, different conditions.
Like
And
you
I'm
had an NDA.
well, and exactly. And then I'm like, you're literally not part of my story. Like, yeah, it sucks that you did these things to me, the conversations we had, but I was underage and you didn't, I wasn't going to let you stop me.
Right.
You were supposed to help me. You never did what you said you were going to do. You were never honest about it. And then now, like, the fact that Mary has changed her story from your story to my story. And
Or like the mix.
On American Greed.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So American Greed.
Whistleblower and then
Well,
American Greed.
no, Whistleblower was all yours.
Yeah.
It was not mine. Then American Greed, it was a mix between the two.
Yeah.
And that's what made me so mad, because I'm like, you literally just used me. And the books that they were flipping through on American Greed, those were my books. None of that was what they had. Just like they said, oh, Mary has a photographic memory. No, Priscilla saw the document and said, this is what the document said.
Right.
Oh, and then I was going to say, I messaged her and I said, I'm not distancing myself from you. I distanced myself from him since I became an adult and realized how wrong those mistakes are. I don't want Bryan jeopardizing things in my life. I can't speak on how other people can feel. He involves himself in everything that has to do with the order, and he was never even part of it. You don't come separate.